Hello, everyone. My name is Cameron Weber. Welcome to another exciting episode of Hardfire Television on Brooklyn Free Speech Cable. We're lucky today to have Brian Waddell with us. Brian?
Thank you for having me.
Thank you. Brian is running for office, Libertarian office, as a candidate for Manhattan Borough Presidency. 5 boroughs of Manhattan. Brian is from Manhattan and is running for the Manhattan Borough Presidency. So we'll talk about your campaign. We'll talk about what indeed does the presidency of the boroughs do, if anything at all. And welcome to Brooklyn, and welcome to the Hardfire television show. And first, a little something. Brian is a new father.
Yes.
Right. Has a new son. His name is Ethan.
Ethan, yep.
And you're a writer and a photographer.
That's correct.
And libertarian activist.
Yes, very much so.
He helps organize quite a lot of the activities of the Manhattan Libertarian Party, which is, say, the largest party in the area and pretty much the host and home to a lot of us.
Yeah.
So, right, you're running for a Libertarian candidate for Manhattan Borough President for the 2017 citywide election. Welcome to the show. I think we did that already. Brian, let's get straight to the point. Your idea is to win the borough presidency and then abolish the office of the borough presidency.
That's correct.
Quite an unusual concept.
Yes.
Can you explain a little bit about your idea, why you have that idea? I'm from Brooklyn, and this television show is taped in Brooklyn. And if we abolish the borough presidencies, doesn't that mean that Manhattan will be giving less money to Brooklyn? Given that Manhattan pays the tax base for just about the entire state?
Only by a few $1 million.
Okay.
That's
right.
that's I guess the good news.
I guess we got the
it'll only be a
self-interest
few
out of the
$1
way.
million that we won't be giving to Brooklyn instead.
Uh-uh.
So the biggest thing for this race is efficiency in government.
Right.
And this plan that I have will cut $20 million from the city government without affecting any programs.
Right.
Now, for some libertarians, that's not libertarian enough. I'm not, I'm not giving tax money back to people. I'm just saying we need to cut this out. The money otherwise can go to programs that aren't really being funded enough, or it can go in the rainy day fund. I would love to say that it's going to come back in a tax return, but the reality is that would be about $1.50 to $2 per taxpayer in this city. So it wouldn't be a realistic.
You're doing this to make a statement, though, right?
It's
or you're
more
serious
than that.
about it.
It's seriously it's an idea that we can cut $20 million out of the budget, make the government more efficient, and flatten out government just a little bit so that you have better access to your government. By just getting rid of this one position that really since 1993 has had very little to do.
And what happened, I know that the city was consolidated in 1912 was the city was created.
Yeah.
The city of New York took over the boroughs and then created the borough presidencies as kind of, we're not taking away your local government.
Right.
You have the borough presidencies.
But they had a lot to do until about 1989. They had a lot to do with actual land use. They made real decisions about land use, surveying, all those kind of things that were in their office before. But then that got taken away by the city council, and then they were a part of the way the city was run before, and then the way the city was run was decided it was unconstitutional, and so then all of their power essentially went away, and now they have recommendation ability, and they choose who gets certain grants.
Exactly.
And I'm not taking away those grants. I'm not taking away any of that stuff. My plan involves getting rid of the borough presidency and separating out an office of grants and land use as a separate thing in each borough, so that you don't lose any of the activities that the borough president's office does do. We're just getting rid of the top-down bureaucrat, if you will.
Yeah.
That is
the middle
in.
person.
Yeah, you're getting rid of the middleman. So your community boards and the borough board will have more to say about what's going on, rather than having that one person that it all filters through.
And let's see. So even Wiki says that the position is ceremonial.
Yeah, it
the
is.
borough presidencies are ceremonial.
Yeah, it's very much a ceremonial position, but it's a ceremonial position that made six figures every year. High, not high six figures, but high 178,000 or whatever it is. And these people all have two drivers apiece.
It's disgusting.
And especially in Manhattan, really in Brooklyn.
What happened to government
Brooklyn
of the
or Queens-
people for the
it's,
people?
It's not even close. Brooklyn and Queens, Staten Island, even I can understand having a driver. I can understand that. It is harder to get around on there, but having two drivers for the Manhattan Borough President is absolutely unacceptable. That's the easiest island to get around on in the city, and probably one of the easier islands to get around on, or easier metropolitan areas to get around in, really anywhere that I've been.
Right. And great. So let's see. So a few weeks ago, we had Alex Merced on the show, who is running for city comptroller.
Yep.
You were Alex's campaign manager when he was running for U.S. Senate.
Yep.
Right, he went straight to Senate. So
Yeah.
you
He came back to comptroller.
and he came back to comptroller. And so you do have campaign experience,
Yeah.
and libertarian campaign experience. What did you learn? Well, let me ask this. So one of the things that we talked about is the fact that the city is now more bankrupt than it was when the city was bankrupt.
Right.
And so in other words, right now, the percentage of the city budget that goes to pensions for city government labor union workers is higher than it was when the city was bankrupt.
Right.
So the city is bankrupt. You can get rid of, say, the borough presidencies, and you said it would save $20 million.
Right.
Just
With my plan.
Yeah, to have those 5 offices.
Right.
Just to create that bureaucratic position.
Right.
Would save $20 million, keeping the programs in place.
Right.
But the pension fund itself is underfunded by, some people say, as much as $100 billion.
Right.
So this would just be a drop in the bucket.
This is a drop in a giant swimming pool. This isn't a drop in a bucket. That's the reality, but it's a step in the right direction. Monetarily, it is really just a tiny morsel of the giant bite we need to take out of our city government.
So when you go around and talk to people about this idea, do they say, Brian, this is a great idea. How can we apply this type of idea to the city spending at large? And in other words, do you have programs that you can recommend to help us save money, like getting rid of ceremonial offices?
Well, I think that's my first goal, obviously, is to get rid of the borough presidencies. Another position that is really just ceremonial is, especially at this point, with all the social media and all the other ways that people communicate with their government officials, the public advocate. It has absolutely zero power to do anything but make recommendations. And if the only thing you're able to do in government is make recommendations, you're just a citizen. You're not a part of the government. So the fact that we're paying these people 6 figures each
which
is absolutely ridiculous.
Right. When the average income in Manhattan is $48,000,
Right.
the average income in Brooklyn is $42,000.
Yeah, these people are making triple what the average person is making in their constituency to do legitimately nothing.
Is this type of unfairness and inequality and lack of social justice is what turned you into a libertarian, or someone who's an anti-statist, or
probably? I'm not sure what brought me there. I'm one of those guys who I consider myself a natural libertarian. In other words, I didn't read all sorts of books like a lot of libertarians tend to do in order to figure out where I was. I think I was about 5 years down the road into really understanding libertarianism before I even read the law.
Right.
Bastiat's The Law, which I think is a pretty foundational piece of reading if you're going to be a libertarian.
I'm the stereotype. I read Ayn Rand's Anthem.
There you go. You
which
got started
is about the same depth, about the same length.
Yeah,
of
the
pages.
shorter version of Atlas Shrugged, but
that was a great 2 or 3 hours.
Yeah, no, it's a quick
I was
read.
27 at the time.
Yeah, see, I mean, but that's. I think I was probably 30 when I finally read The Law, but I had been involved with the party for a long time, and I've read a lot of things since then, but I'm really have done this a little bit backwards in that I feel that this is who I am. I believe in liberty for every person, and that
in addressing inequities.
Exactly. If we're
or at least making people aware of inequities.
Absolutely.
I mean, I think your idea is yes, you're serious about abolishing the presidencies, but I also think it highlights and is nice agitational propaganda,
Right.
making people aware of the
Right.
waste and allowing people, as an entry point, allowing people to rethink, wait a minute, what is city government?
Right.
What have we
Right.
created?
What should they be doing? Because we can argue about the scope of government all day long, but if it's not efficient,
Uh-huh.
I don't want anything to do with it.
Trash, police, fire. I can't really think of much
Like I
else.
said, we
We can talk about
we
that.
can talk about the scope of government all day long and probably
Uh-huh.
up and down. We probably agree on most of the things, but
Uh-huh.
I don't think that most people necessarily agree with our version of the scope of government, or at
Uh-huh.
least, on some level they don't. And this isn't about the scope of government. It is legitimately about the efficiency of government,
Right.
and
Uh-huh,
how we are
uh-huh,
getting
uh-huh.
things done
Uh-huh,
rather
uh-huh.
than what's being done.
Perfect, perfect. So you mentioned the programs that the Bureau President helps coordinate.
Mhm.
And I know, let's see, what about the capital budget or discretionary capital funding
Right.
programs? What did you call those? The community boards is what you called those.
Well, so
What is that exactly? I know,
So
I know,
there's
I know,
a-
I know. I go to the park and then people
there's a-
ask me to sign petitions or
Right, so there's a-
suggest things to
Right.
do.
There's a
Get rid of the
budget-
fence in
yeah,
the
yeah,
park.
yeah. So there's a budget for capital improvements
Uh-huh.
for nonprofits and parks, that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
That would not be changed at all in my plan.
Uh-huh.
So that would be a part of the grants and land use office.
Uh-huh.
And they would be controlled by the borough board.
Uh-huh.
Currently, the borough president sits as the chair of the borough board.
And what's it composed of? The borough board.
The borough board is composed of members of different community boards from around the
Uh-huh.
borough.
Uh-huh.
So each of the 5 boroughs has their own borough board, and they are chaired by the borough president.
Is that an elected thing? The borough board.
The borough boards
Membership?
are elected up from the community boards, yes.
Uh-huh.
So
Community boards.
they move up from the community board, which is hyper-local, move into the borough board, which is fairly local, especially in New York City. Once you get up to, one island worth, then you're in the millions of people. But still fairly local for us.
Uh-huh.
But, the borough board would have control over that office.
And getting rid of the presidency would then make that more efficient?
So it would
Those-
make it so that you, as an individual citizen,
Uh-huh.
have a closer line
Uh-huh.
to that decision-making process.
Uh-huh.
Rather than having a top-down executive
Uh-huh.
to make that decision.
Right, right.
You get rid of that
For his
layer.
For his cronies. For
Right,
his
exactly.
friends.
So we're getting rid of that layer. and
You're getting one
We're-
level of cronyism.
Yeah, we're getting rid of one level of cronyism. It's not enough, but it is a step in the right direction.
I think it's a good idea. But let me just add, I'm kind of I worked in Washington for 13 years on and off, so I'm a little bit more cynical than a lot of people about how government works,
Right.
especially the higher up you get, the more you deny responsibility.
Right.
What's that? Some principle where you get up to your level of incompetence.
Yeah.
So you get up to a level where everyone you're working with is incompetent,
Right.
basically, because if you're not responsible for anything, you don't get fired.
Right.
Yeah, but these community boards that dole out capital projects,
Sure.
aren't they just token gestures so that people actually believe they're helping to decide what the city does, when in fact really the big money goes to the pension funds
Yeah.
and the crony capital and the corporate welfare.
In a way, and I
the
think that
corporate welfare.
like I said, this is a drop in a giant lake, but
Plus you're learning from this experience too.
yeah,
You're
oh,
right.
absolutely.
Exactly.
No, definitely, and it is really just one of those things that you.
And the more you get into it, the more you'll learn, and then the more you'll
Oh
be
yeah,
able to
absolutely,
decide
and
for
I've
yourself.
learned, I've gotten questionnaires from different organizations and those kind of things.
Oh, you have?
That have really just, I'm like, oh, I need to actually learn
Ye-
about some of the things that are actual issues within city politics. So.
And so the media has been receptive to your idea?
The media generally doesn't care that libertarians are running in general, but so I think that once I get a little more traction, otherwise, once they know who's on the ballot and where, maybe get into a couple of debates, then maybe they'll start to listen. But it's really about getting the message out there even more.
Are you steering towards debates? Do you have any debates coming up in the future?
I would
You
love
and
to be-
Alex
so-
could put you could put together debates. You could put together
Yeah.
debates in the studio
Oh,
here.
absolutely. So there are mechanisms within the city. So the campaign finance board puts up their own debates, if you will. The first one, there is a $1 minimum, right, to be definitely included. So
Of campaign donations.
of
dollar
campaign
minimum.
donations spent.
It's all about the money.
Income and spend. So yeah,
And
it's
what's
all about
that?
the money.
What's that?
For borough president, it's about $40,000 worth of raise and spend.
And are you anywhere near there?
No, not yet. Vote
what's that?
Waddell.com/donate.
Waddell for NewYork.com. Or
No, votewaddell.com.
Oh, votewaddell.com.
It's
two D's,
two D's, two L's. Correct. Yeah.
votewaddell.com.
Yep.
Donate. And how much is a full page ad in the New York Times? That was your 40 grand right there, right?
Yeah. So if you can. So the maximum each person can give is about $3,850. $3,850. So you and your significant other can just send over a check each for that. That'd be great. I'm expecting a ton from this.
We're from Sunset Park, remember, from Brooklyn.
It's okay.
Yeah.
That's okay. I can take donations from anybody anywhere.
Oh, you can.
Yep. It's just
good.
and actually for.
And what do you promise them in return if they donate?
A more,
to get rid of your office.
more efficient government, to not have to see me around as much after I get rid of the office. Yeah.
That's a pretty honest platform,
Yeah.
and be hard to pull a fast one on that, right?
Yeah, no, the whole point of, so there are two ways to actually get this on the ballot, right? There's an opportunity to petition, and we all know how fun petitioning is, to petition and get 50,000 signatures to get
What
to
Brian's
get this on the ballot.
referring to is that the Libertarian Party is not automatically on the ballot, as are the Republicans, the Democrats, because we've never won.
So you have to have 50,000 votes for your gubernatorial candidate in the
for
past gubernatorial election.
Yeah.
So your candidate for governor needs
yeah.
to get 50,000 votes, and then you will have ballot access for the next 4 years.
And what did we get last time? How many votes?
I don't really want to discuss that. The time before that, we were very, very close. We were within a few thousand votes the time before that.
I don't even remember who
very
ran for
disappointing.
governor last time.
Yeah, let's not discuss it.
Oh. So there's kind of a new generation of libertarian politicians. It seems like you and Alex Merced and Aaron Comey are pretty tight, and
Devin also.
who I have not met. And what's
Yeah.
Devin running for?
Devin Balkin is running for public advocate. He has a very interesting
Does
platform.
he want to abolish too? Abolish his
No, he's
position?
not there. He hasn't done that. I haven't even really talked to him about that because I really want to focus on kind of abolish on your way up kind of thing. Kind of get rid of the base layer of extraneous government and then get rid of that one position that needs to go.
I see.
And then kinda,
abolish on the way up. I
Yeah,
like that.
exactly. So
Kind of like reverse secessionism.
yeah, kind of. I guess yeah, kind of. But
Interesting.
it's I do.
Decentralization through.
Yeah, and he wants to do a lot of technology things to help people figure out how their government is running and talk about those things where we can
Right.
actually make our government run better
Yeah.
beyond obviously cutting
Through, like,
the borough presidency or anything like that.
Through media on polling and things
There's
like that.
polling stuff he wants to do. He wants people to be more involved with their government and make sure they know how the money's being spent. And whereas the New York City government is very transparent. It's all out there. It's just that people have to go and look in a bunch of different places for all that information. And he kind of wants to bring it all together and make it so that it's very clear and right there for everybody to see.
And so the platform we have now for the citywide offices seem to now, right, so the problem is the petitioning. You have to
Yeah.
go out and you have to
Yeah.
spend hours and hours, weeks, 6 weeks,
Yeah.
getting people's signatures.
Yeah, I'm not in a beautiful shirt and tie like you are.
Because you've been out
because I was
collecting
out
signatures.
petitioning
Yeah.
just before I came over here. So, yeah.
Yeah. And that's very difficult to do.
It is. It's a lot of work. It involves time, money, and energy that really takes away from the ability to campaign. And that's
But
part
don't
of
you
the
don't you
goal.
have an opportunity to meet with people and talk
You
to
do
them
have an
about your
opportunity,
ideas?
sort of.
Especially you, because you're polling. and so this is
Because
me.
I'm the candidate, I do.
Yeah.
But the problem is you end up spending money or sending out volunteers, and burning out your volunteers if you have
Uh-huh.
volunteers on petitioning
Right.
rather than campaigning.
Of course.
And when you have a volunteer, you don't train them to have your talking points at that point, because the
Uh-huh.
goal is to get the signatures. The goal is to get in, get out, get 50
Well,
signatures as fast as possible.
I ran into one of my neighbors today in the co-op, and I told him I was doing a show, and he said, "What's your topic?" And I said, "Well, a friend of mine's running for borough president of Manhattan, and he wants to and if he gets elected, he'll abolish the office." I mean, that's a two-sentence thing that goes
Yeah.
over pretty quickly.
Yeah.
And then the third sentence would be to show how we can make city government more efficient.
Yeah,
I mean,
I've actually
it seems a very
started.
portable.
I've actually started, and I thought it would work better, but I've actually started leading with the cutting $20 million and not affecting a single thing that the government does. Somehow that doesn't even grab people as much in this city.
Well, the
as
drivers
abolishing-
themselves, you figure $300,000 each with benefits and
Yeah.
everything.
I mean,
So
this
that's 600, half of it.
Yeah, I mean,
600,000
it's
for drivers.
absolutely, it's ridiculous. I mean, I think that 20 million is probably, that's the, just the straight numbers out of the budget, but I think it would actually end up cutting a lot more than that. There's a lot of, and then, it cuts out people who are maybe, maybe the filter into other jobs and do that kind of thing, but it might end up cutting some jobs. That's a reality, and
Oh,
that's
the
just-
staff support
but
people.
it's minimal. This is 25 or 30 people per borough.
But in fact, they would be then freed up to do something
Do
which
something
is
else.
more productive.
Yeah, something much more. Well, some of the people in those offices would definitely end up being in the Department of Lands and grants and land use.
So the Department of Grants and Land Use exists, or this is
no,
something that?
that's something that would be created within the plan to get rid of the borough
So
presidency.
so you get rid of 5 bureau presidencies and create an Office of Grants
And land use.
use.
Correct.
Speaking of grants and land use, one of the New York City Economic Development
Yeah.
Corporation. Okay. So can you tell us a little about the New York City Economic Development Corporation, which I call crony capitalism or corporate welfare? And what is the relationship between the borough presidencies and the Economic Development Corporation, if you'd like to talk
So
about
I mean, they have a close relationship in that the Economic Development Corporation brings,
Economic Development Corporation. How's that for
yeah,
it's an
it brings-
Orwellian name? Huh?
Yeah, it brings a lot of development ideas, and then the borough presidents get to sign off on them. It's basically how it works. I mean, that's essentially what it does. There's no real. I mean, there is a system to have development go through.
Development.
But it's
Development used to mean economic growth. Economic
no,
growth reduces absolute poverty, and that's called
Right.
development.
Right.
Development where people are living longer, healthier lives. Their children aren't dying early, and but now economic development, since the era of the welfare state, is the state is responsible for providing jobs.
Right.
Jobs creation. So
Right.
economic development has now become job creation,
Yeah.
where what's this called again? I love this name. It's so blank that it's, New York City Economic Development Corporation
Yeah.
gives subsidies to businesses
Yep.
to locate in the city.
Yeah, in certain spots where they choose.
Exactly.
Yeah, where they want them to go.
Do you
And
know about
that-
Industry City? Industry City in Sunset Park? That's one of the most egregious examples
Yeah.
of corporate welfare. These old, huge, beautiful depot buildings
Yeah.
that were used for shipping during World War II, huge project. The city takes them over, establishes, it would be great for writers, photographers,
absolutely.
musicians, artists to create studios.
Yeah.
But you can't go in and create studios privately that you can own because the city owns it all.
Right.
Then you have to pay for all the middle people that the
Right.
city has created.
Yep.
And it's a big corporate welfare that affects me personally. And I'm
Yep.
sure there's many people have many examples.
Yeah, absolutely.
And by abolishing the Office of Bureau Presidency, perhaps that some of that corporate welfare will go away, you think?
It's a step in the right
A
direction.
step in
I
the
think
right
that,
direction. You don't really know until it.
Yeah, you don't really know how much of that will really diminish
You don't know.
that crony capitalism.
Yeah, yeah.
Just because there's still a lot of layers of government involved. And there are people who, even on the community boards, there are people who are connected and are have their friends and all those kind of things that they want to get projects for.
So you're not selling us anything. You're being completely honest.
No,
That's good.
I'm not here to sell a bill of goods. I'm just here to get rid of the borough presidency.
Okay, so tell us your what can people do? What can people do to contribute to your campaign or to help you out? And how much time do we have till the election?
Election is the first Tuesday after the first Sunday in November. So early November we have the election.
So that gives us about 2 months. So what
Yep,
can we do to help
a few
you?
months. Go to votewaddell.com.
2 Ds, 2 L,
Yep.
votewaddell.com.
Yep, it's pretty simple to find. And they will find all of the information on me there, a couple of videos, and there is a page on getting involved. So they can
Okay.
just go there. There's a donate page, all that kind of stuff. So.
Yeah. And you seem easy to work with, so if people want to petition
Yeah,
with you,
if they want
in
to
the short
petition
term,
with me,
you-
whatever else
how
they
much,
wanna
how much
do.
time do we have for petitioning?
Just a little over a week left in
and
petitioning.
how close are we on that?
Hopefully closer than I think we are.
Yeah, it's not easy for a third party in
No,
the United
it's
States,
not.
so we have to thank Brian for at least attempting something
Yeah, thank you.
in our bankrupt city, at least a
Yes.
step in the right direction. Is there any closing remarks you'd like to make to our viewers? Gary is telling us it's time to wrap it up.
I just want to thank you for having me first.
Sure,
I really
yeah.
appreciate it.
Yeah.
It was a nice little trip over the Manhattan Bridge
Appreciate
to get
it.
out here.
Oh, yeah.
It's a nice little area, and
Yeah, yeah.
and just thank you very much for listening. I hope you do reach out if you have any questions for me. I'm very accessible.
Yeah.
You can use any of the email links on my website. votewaddell@gmail.com even will work. So anything you see with Vote Waddell on it, that's me. So whether it's
And-
Twitter or Instagram,
Yeah,
Facebook.
Brian, so if you don't win this time, are you going to
Yeah.
keep at it with the same message, do you think?
I think so. And if it's not me, then I'll make sure that somebody else is.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. So.
Because you're going to be raising your son.
Yeah,
You never know.
I'm kind of busy, and who knows if certain things take off. You never know, but if it's not me, I certainly think that the Libertarian candidates for
Right.
borough president should continue to do this.
And you've got a good community of libertarian
Yeah,
candidates.
really, really great.
That are working
Yeah.
together. Great. So I guess it's time to wrap it up. Brian Waddell, thank you for coming on Hardfire today, and thank you for watching Hardfire TV, Libertarian Issues in Focus on Brooklyn Free Speech Cable, and we'll hope to see you next time. Thank you.